The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
We want to end that war. We want to end it quickly. And I think we've made a lot of progress. We'll see what happens. This next few days is going to be very important.
A turning point in the quest for peace. How an overnight Russian strike in Kyiv could change the president's plans in Europe. Then, how the Trump administration is getting around a judge's order to stop deporting illegal aliens with possible ties to gangs in El Salvador. And a truck recall for the youngest of drivers. Why these toy vehicles are no longer considered safe to ride. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. We are glad you are here with us. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and we begin with President Donald Trump hosting Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store and Finance Minister Jens Stoltenberg at the White House and expressing confidence that the two countries will come together on a new trade agreement. Norway is one of roughly 60 countries in negotiations with the White House, among them South Korea, who Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says another deal could be coming soon.
We will be talking technical terms as early as next week as we reach an agreement on understanding as soon as next week.
Up on Wall Street for a third day in a row, the Dow continues to rebound after a drop on Monday, finishing up nearly another 500 points. Both the S&P and the Nasdaq indexes climbed more than 2% today. All three are up over the last 5 days. Continuing coverage, the president and the Norwegian prime minister also discussing the ongoing war in Europe. A deadly overnight attack on Ukraine by Russia further complicates a fragile peace deal trying to be negotiated by the U.S. As the National News Desk, Matt Gelka reports, President Trump says he has his own deadline for when the U.S. might walk away from the table.
Deadly strikes by Russia in Kyiv killed at least 9. The attack coming as fragile peace talks led by the United States between Russia and Ukraine hang in the balance. The bombing led to a Truth Social response from the president, writing in part that he was not happy and saying, "Vladimir, stop," referring to the Russian president.
We are thinking that very strongly that they both want peace, but they have to get to the table. We're waiting a long time. They have to get them to the table, and I think we're going to get peace.
Trump hosted Norway's prime minister along with the former head of NATO at the White House to talk peace plans. Multiple U.S. officials and the White House have suggested they're ready to walk away from the whole thing if progress isn't made soon.
I have my own deadline. And we want it to be fast.
Trump has been pressuring Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to accept what Ukraine sees as a Russia-friendly peace deal. The president accused Ukraine of prolonging the war after Ukraine refused to recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea, one of the key pillars of a deal presented to the warring countries. Another part of the framework guarantees Ukraine would not become a part of NATO.
This isn't my war. This is Biden's war. This is a war that Biden was president when this war happened, but I'm trying to put out the fire.
Zelensky cut a trip to South Africa short following the attacks on the Ukrainian capital city. He wrote on X that Ukraine agreed to a ceasefire 44 days ago, and it has been 44 days of Russia continuing to kill our people and evading tough pressure and accountability for its actions. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday as the negotiations for peace continue. And Ukraine's president could use this weekend to try and iron some more things out in the peace deal. He says he wants to speak with President Trump while they're both at the Vatican for Pope Francis's funeral. Didi?
Matt, to your last point, did President Trump say he'd meet with Zelensky this weekend?
Well, the short answer was he didn't know if he would. But when asked today if he'd speak with world leaders, he did say yes. And when pressed on who exactly he wanted to talk to among those world leaders, the president replied, all of them.
Live from Washington, D.C., Matt Gelka, thank you. And this just in, President Trump is directing the Justice Department to investigate ActBlue, the biggest liberal online donation platform. He signed a memo today telling the Attorney General to look into allegations about the use of online fundraising platforms for illegal straw contributions and foreign contributions to American politicians. 19-year-old Joseph Kling has been arrested and is being charged with aggravated arson. New Jersey police say he started the massive Pine Barrens wildfire in New Jersey. They say he ignited a bonfire and left the area before properly putting it out. The fire grew to more than 23 square miles as of this morning. Several major roads, including part of the Garden State Parkway, remain closed. The fire has also set off air quality alerts in New York City that will remain in effect until at least midnight tonight. The Highland Park Independence Day mass murderer gets life in prison. Robert Crimo III admitted to killing 7 people and wounding dozens of others in the 2022 parade shooting in suburban Chicago. Survivors and victims' family members gave emotional testimony before his sentencing. He refused to show up in court. The sentence carries no possibility of parole. A suspected MS-13 gang member has been arrested in Nashville, Tennessee. Leonel Vargas Jr. was taken into custody by the Metro Nashville SWAT team after being on the run for the past year. He's being held without bond and is facing multiple charges, including at least 1 felony. This, as we are learning, the Trump administration deported 4 more non-citizens with possible foreign gang ties to El Salvador. A recent court order forbids the administration from doing so without giving the accused a chance to raise concerns about safety or challenge their gang status. But the Department of Justice says that order was specifically against the Department of Homeland Security, and these migrants were deported by the Department of Defense. Tonight, the Trump administration has been given a temporary reprieve, a week-long pause from a federal judge. A deadline had come and gone for the White House to provide details on its efforts to facilitate the return of Kyiv Abrego Garcia, as ordered by the Supreme Court. The Trump administration had been accused of acting in bad faith, but has meantime continued to defend its decision, not only to deport the undocumented immigrant from El Salvador, but to keep him there, as the National News Desk Christine Frizzell reports.
The new partnership between President Donald Trump and El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele, giving critics a new target, the government of El Salvador.
So there are also pressures we can put on the government of El Salvador, including through, people deciding not to invest in El Salvador, Americans not traveling to El Salvador.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calling for a review of state contracts and a boycott on any trade between his state and the Latin American country. In a statement writing, the United States Constitution guarantees due process. We are witnessing Donald Trump erode our fundamental constitutional rights in real time, and we must fight to restore the balance of power. That fight appears to be centered on Kyiv Abrego Garcia, who Democrats continue to defend, especially after DOJ attorneys admitted the deportation was done in error, as Republicans continue to insist the undocumented immigrant from El Salvador has simply been returned home.
We removed an MS-13 gang member, public safety threat, wife beater, designated terrorists from the United States.
More documents from Abrego Garcia's past now being made public, including this 2022 Department of Homeland Security report from when Abrego Garcia was pulled over for erratic driving and told the Tennessee Highway Patrol the car he was driving belonged to his boss, Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes, who 2 years earlier pleaded guilty to illegal transportation or moving of an alien, according to the Department of Justice.
What it says is there is a good chance that Abrego Garcia is also involved in similar nefarious activity.
The Trump administration had been ordered to provide information on its efforts to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia, an order that was just put on pause for 1 week by a federal judge. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
A judge is blocking the Trump administration from enforcing 2 executive orders aimed at withholding federal funds from sanctuary cities. This decision allows 16 counties and cities to continue receiving funds while they challenge the orders in court. The Justice Department argued an injunction is unwarranted since the White House hasn't acted on the orders yet. But the judge disagreed, citing a similar order Trump issued during his first term. And new developments Headlines this afternoon, the Trump administration asking the Supreme Court to let a ban on transgender military service be enforced while legal challenges play out. This all comes after a lower court temporarily blocked the policy. Lawyers for the administration argue allowing people with gender dysphoria to serve in the military harms readiness. Critics say the ban is discriminatory. And a New York federal judge is blocking part of President Trump's recent executive order on federal elections. U.S. District Judge Colleen Kohler-Catelli has stopped the citizenship requirement for voting registration until the lawsuit fully plays out in court. But the judge did allow the president's order to tighten mail ballot deadlines, as well as permitting the Department of Homeland Security to review state voter lists alongside immigration databases. Texas is establishing its own Department of Government Efficiency. Governor Greg Abbott signing a bill creating a Texas Regulatory Efficiency Office yesterday. He says that it will accelerate the process of slashing state regulations, especially for startups and other businesses.
One reason why we are repeatedly ranked #1 is because we perpetually seek to find ways to improve. And this regulatory environment reform is one way that we can improve to ensure that Texas is moving even faster.
Texas Doge will be permanent, unlike the federal Doge program. Other states have also introduced Doge-style programs, including Wisconsin's bipartisan Doge committee. The Texas law goes into effect in September. And here's a live look at the Vatican, where Pope Francis is lying in state. It's past midnight in Rome, and St. Peter's Basilica is still open to allow the public to pay their final respects before the funeral on Saturday. This is what the Pope's tomb looks like. The Vatican just releasing this first image of his final resting place. It's made of marble and will be inscribed with Franciscus. Coming up, why summer vacation plans are on hold for many Americans and how this travel season will be different from last year's. Then, more and more people say doctors are downplaying their symptoms, why complaints of medical gaslighting are soaring. Then, the high-tech tools crews in North Carolina are using to control wildfires. We'll be right back in 90 seconds. The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits remains at a healthy level. New government data shows jobless claims inched up slightly last week to 222,000. Economists say that the labor market is still healthy with plenty of job openings and few layoffs, but there are still fears of an economic downturn due to President Trump's tariff agenda. It's been a rough start to the spring home buying season this year. The National Association of Realtors says there were just over 4 million home sales last month, and that's down from a year before and lower than economists expected. March also had the largest monthly drop in sales since November 2022, and the national average sales price rose to over $403,000. Summer right around the corner. summer, but for a lot of Americans, vacation plans are on hold. The National News Desk, Angela Brown, is looking into why.
Between rising prices and tighter budgets, that dream trip is looking more like a staycation on the couch. According to a new Bankrate survey, 46% of adults plan to travel this summer. Last year, that number was 53%.
If you're not traveling, cost is the primary explanation, and it is roughly half and half. So 46% are planning to travel. The remainder either are not or they're not sure yet.
About 65% of non-travelers say it's just too expensive to pack up and go. Recent tariffs and recession talk resulting in many Americans taking a wait-and-see approach.
When we ask people about why can't you afford it, they're actually split pretty much evenly between day-to-day life is too expensive and travel is too expensive. So it's not necessarily the travel prices have run away.
An April report from NerdWallet found for the first time in months, travel costs are down. Airfares in March down 5.2% compared to this time last year, while hotel rooms down 3.7%. Still, 36% of travelers say they'll take on debt just to get away. Want to avoid that? Experts say don't chase the dream trip, chase the deal. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Senator Elizabeth Warren is leading a new investigation into the Trump administration's efforts to abolish the Department of Education. The Democrat said she'll get input from students, parents, and teachers she claims are being harmed by President Trump's agenda. The senator sent a letter to 12 education and civil rights organizations asking them to explain the impact of funding cuts by May 22nd. President Trump's push to end diversity, equity, and inclusion policies in public grade schools hit a roadblock today. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the order that said schools that continue DEI policies or curriculum could lose federal funding. The National Education Association and the ACLU filed a lawsuit in response, saying the move threatens the First Amendment. States were originally given until the end of today to certify that local schools were in compliance. Tens of thousands of toy trucks are being recalled because of a risk of fire and burns. Take a look behind me at Huffy 12-volt, these children's ride-on Tonka dump trucks. They have the model numbers listed on the bottom of your screen. We're working to pull that up right there. They can overheat. Huffy said it doesn't know of any injuries, but did get a report of a truck catching on fire. If you have one, stop using it right away and contact Huffy for a new controller. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made a special appearance at the 2025 RX and Illicit Drug Summit in Nashville today. He addressed the assembly, detailing his own experience in quickly becoming an addict when he was a teen and how hard he worked to become sober. He says the biggest piece of advice he has for anyone struggling with a similar problem is to develop self-worth through helping others.
I say when you get up in the morning, you have to ask one question. You have to say, reporting for duty, sir. And then you have to ask one question and say one prayer. Please make me useful to another human being today.
The plan to phase out certain artificial food dyes is not a formal ban and mainly relies on the food industry to take initiative.
We'd like to see them out of the U.S. food supply, ideally by the end of next year. Many companies have said they can do that, and we're hoping many more companies will join that.
The plan includes revoking authorization for 2 food colorings in the coming months and authorizing some new natural color additives in the next few weeks. The FDA also plans to work with the food industry to cut out other synthetic dyes and ask companies to bump up the deadline to remove FD&C red dye number 3. Right now, the FDA allows 36 color additives. A recent survey shows medical gaslighting is one of patients' top concerns in healthcare. Medical reporter Liz Bonus shares how to overcome it and get the care you need.
Hey there, everybody. This cancer survivor, Stacey Montgomery, now sharing her journey with us so all of us will know the best way to avoid medical gaslighting. She says you have to be your own advocate.
You see, by the time this busy science teacher sought the medical help she needed after some pretty serious symptoms set in.
After I ate, just felt uncomfortable, gas, bloating. And then it started to get worse.
Stacey needed surgery and treatment for stage 2 colon cancer. Dr. Janice Rafferty performed that surgery here at Ohio's Christ Hospital. But she says Stacey's story is all too common.
Pay attention to your body, listen to it, and when something changes, ask for help, ask for advice. And if you are gaslit, if you are ignored, if you are brushed off, if you don't get the answer that you think you need, keep pushing.
As Dr. Rafferty and other especially female surgeons here, such as Dr. Jennifer Manders, know,
I would say that women's concerns are not always taken seriously.
And by definition, medical gaslighting is when you seek medical care and attention only to find
somebody's thoughts, ideas are undermined, and that person's made to feel like they're crazy or there's something wrong with them, rather than there being an issue that needs to be dealt with.
It's so prevalent right now that a recent ranking of patient safety concerns places it above other medical worries such as artificial intelligence and medical misinformation. A separate survey found 94% of people, when asked, said they had symptoms dismissed or ignored by a doctor.
We all need to be advocates for ourselves.
Stacy says in her case, societal norms also made her feel gaslit.
Women don't talk about pooping, and so to talk about that felt uncomfortable, which it shouldn't.
Especially, she says, when not talking about something has the potential to alter your future forever.
Stacy, now doing well, hopes to celebrate her 5-year cancer-free anniversary soon. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
NASA is celebrating the Hubble Space Telescope's 35th anniversary in orbit by releasing a new collection of images here taken by Hubble. Take a look. These images include Mars, star-forming regions, and nebula. The 24,000-pound observatory went into low Earth orbit on April 24th, 1990. Coming up next, Seattle residents outraged about chronic nudity and criminal behavior in a park, the action they are now taking to stop it. We'll tell you more after the break. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America. And we start in North Carolina, where firefighters are using high-tech planes to control wildfires.
The Super Scooper is an undeniably cool airplane, only to be outdone by functionality.
We have a water source nearby. We're good at putting a lot of water on a fire in a very short period of time.
Pilots receive a target description to water the area in order to best support the ground crews.
It's a tight fit inside the Canada Air CL-215T, but these planes are essential for firefighting here in North Carolina. These are the water tankers where thousands of gallons of water goes in and out each day.
Neighbors say day after day in the sunlight, men show up to Denny Blaine Park to very publicly commit a sex act. Neighbors say they're fearful and fed up.
It is happening on a daily basis, numerous times a day. The park really is not
been able to be used by the majority of the people who live near it anymore. It's become unsafe in many respects.
And that's why the group calling itself Denny Blaine Park for All has filed a lawsuit in King County Superior Court.
Same shop, same order, same art, but the price of that same latte you sipped on a few months ago has now gone up. A reality for coffee shop owners around the country that frustrates Nevada State Senator Catherine Cortez Masto.
The reciprocal tariffs, it's having an impact on whether they're going to survive or not.
On Wednesday, the senator swung by Reno's Hub Coffee Roasters for a tour and a brew on the way to understanding how the Trump administration's 10% baseline tariffs are impacting business owners like Mark Trujillo. He said it's been tough to deal with the rising prices of equipment and coffee beans.
Coming up next, a preview of the NFL draft that begins tonight. We'll have that right after this. Okay, so a huge night for sports fans. In just about 90 minutes, the three-day NFL draft begins with round one at 8 p.m. Eastern in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
I just think it's such an iconic setting. Have Lambeau Field and all of the incredible games and incredible personalities, players, coaches. To see Vince Lombardi's trophy right in the distance is really it's wonderful for us to be able to celebrate our past and our future in one spot, and that's what we're doing with the draft.
Each pick in the first round is allotted 10 minutes with 32 selections. Tonight's draft could go more than 5 hours. That's going to do it for us for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening as we take a look at the generational shift happening inside the Democratic Party ahead of the midterms, why the top official at the Democratic National Committee is now telling his number two to get out of the primary game or else. We'll have that and much more coming up tonight at 10. I'm Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching. See you tonight.